can listen to the Inside the Birds podcast via all podcasting platforms. Just search Inside the Birds. Adam Caplan is your Inside the Birds host today. And, of course, it is a Friday edition, and we got a lot of fun stuff happening. The Phillies, after the deadline, they are making news today because of their lineup. But the news is almost being trumped by the news in Dallas and Washington today. This is like holy mackerel, this is like the dog going back in the flame. Like, what is going on here? Micah Parsons, Adam Caplan, and Terry McLaurin, two major names in the NFC East. Let's start there and get your take on it. Is this just, it's early training camp? Micah Parsons, Terry McLaurin, both asked to be traded from their teams.
All right, let's start with the one that is just happened, right? The last 2 hours, Micah Parsons, through Twitter, this is where I saw it, or X, he requested a trade, and he filled in the blanks he actually gave out more information than I knew. I knew about 75% of it, but there was some stuff that was really fascinating. So basically what happened, Mike, is because they were going to do Dak Prescott's contract, and they did it leading up to last season. In fact, they got it done right before last season. And then they waited, of course. They wound up doing a deal that was way over market at $60 million a year. So that was their big deal they're going to do. They did some others, by the way. But they made it clear to Parsons and his agent, David Mulligetta, that they couldn't do both. The cash spend was just too big. Okay. So it was just to get done this year. Parsons made it pretty clear through his agent to make sure that they talked to the Cowboys. Well, basically, Jerry has not returned any messages. They basically, Parsons and his agent have gone through the contract negotiators, Todd Williams and Adam Prasika, and those are the guys who handle contracts. So nothing can get done without Jerry signing off on it because he's the general manager and the owner. And that's was the last line of defense. That's when things get moving. But the thing is, now, this is what I knew, but Parsons took it a step further. So basically the word got around and got out, and I'd heard about it, that Jerry Jones was talking to Micah in the offseason privately, and they were talking contract. And what Parsons apparently did is he ended it. He's like, wait a minute, we're not negotiating a contract. Why are we talking? They talked pretty heavy about what it could look like, guaranteed money and all sorts of stuff. And then Jerry Jones spoke at the start of training camp. He goes, Micah and I talked a lot. Smartest player I could ever remember talking contracts. And so basically there was a negotiation done, and Parsons didn't quite know that he was getting that it was that deep into it. And word from the Cowboys, from certain people was, you know what, I think we've got a framework for a deal here. But the problem is the agent, and you should never, good agents, and David Mulligetta is one of the top agents out there, they typically don't want to give up leverage, so they'll wait till the club will call them. Then they'll start talking. But that hasn't happened here. So that's where it stands. So Parsons, he had enough. He's frustrated. He's having a hold-in. He's at practice, he's not working. He's going to meetings, but he's not practicing. He'd had enough. And you see his teammates are Mike, as you know, are chiming in. CeeDee Lamb, I know exactly what CeeDee's talking about. And then Micah didn't appreciate, Jerry Jones talked last week, Mike, I'm sure you saw this. But while the last time they did a deal like this, guy missed 2/3 of the season, that was Dak Prescott. So, and then Stephen Jones, I don't know why Stephen Jones' son said this, who's the COO. He said, well, Micah's got to want to get a deal done. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. Well, he's got to want to get a deal done, but instead he put out a huge expository today that basically said, I no longer want to be here. So, in reality, do we see Micah Parsons on another team, or do we see him in Dallas?
They're not going to be bullied. They're just not going to be that. McLaurin's a different story. We'll get to that in a minute. No, it's super highly unlikely that they would trade him. He's their best football player. Look, this is standing operating procedure to have contractual issues now. This has gotten ugly, let's face it. Teams will call. We know that's going to happen to check in. I'm sure they'll be told no dice. Now, what I would tell you is, and I've talked about this on your show many times over the years, about when I called the Raiders about Khalil Mack in 2018, they told me in June and July, early part of August, there's zero chance we're not trading him. Stop asking. All you reporters are calling, he's not being traded. John Gruden basically commandeered personnel control from Reggie McKenzie. He told McKenzie, I don't have the date of it, I think it was late August, you know what, he's not going to report, let's trade Khalil Mack. And Reggie actually went on the record saying he reluctantly did it. He didn't want to do it. Now, if Jerry Jones, if it got super ugly, maybe they take calls, maybe they listen, but right now it's highly unlikely. I've used this phrase for 8 years on Inside the Birds, never say never. But the reason why I came up with that is because, with Howie especially, we went through the Darius Slay situation when they told him earlier in the day 3 years ago, okay, we're cutting you. 3 hours later, they did an extension with more guaranteed money. So I've learned my lesson. You could be told it's not going to happen, don't worry about it, and then something could change. I just don't see any way they would do that with their best football player, who, by the way, is done everything they've asked. From everything I know, everything that Parsons said is true in terms of handling it the right way. Didn't cause this distraction. Now, he shouldn't have to practice. Like, he should do a hold-in because, Mike, he's with the $40 million a year deals getting done. Parsons, who's going to play on just his fifth-year option at just over $24 million, you can't play on that deal. You just can't. So they know they have to do something.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, as the NL East has been kind of flipped upside down. Not the NL East, the NFC East has been kind of flipped upside down today because, well, not today only, but yesterday, Terry McLaurin, apparently he has gone through a contract situation all offseason long. He wants about $27 million a year or $30 million a year. The team's offering around $27 million a year. And McLaurin now wants to be traded. Is this a legitimate story, or will McLaurin be in Washington?
It's legitimate. I'm going to explain something, which I learned the hard way many, many years ago. So when a GM was not there when the player is drafted, there's what we call less of allegiance to the player. You don't feel like, oh, God, this is my guy. I drafted him. It's not that Adam Peters doesn't want him. They absolutely want to extend his contract. But we have to understand, and I'm not saying this is the right way to look at it, but it's just the way it is. Terry McLaurin turns 30 in April. Okay, so he's 29 he's 29 right now. You have to be, and this is what, and a lot of people in the league thought these Steelers were crazy at extending and paying T.J. Watt for guaranteeing 3 years of his contract. Even if you do, Mike, a 3-year extension, you're going to have to guarantee you 2 years. Now, that's not a big deal, but he's also, and this is not his fault, his numbers aren't like super great, but you always have to look at what's the context. Look at the quarterbacks prior to last season. Not very good quarterback play, not very good O-line play. There are three things I know about the situation and where these things stand. They know that McLaurin is not only one of their best players, he's super high class, high character, also very durable. He's everything you want in a teammate. He's not a dominant physical guy. He's around 6 feet. He's 207 to 210. They don't want to do Metcalf's contract. By the way, DK Metcalf is about 2 years younger. People forget about that. Metcalf's a little bit younger. But Terry McLaurin has done, under the circumstances, he's been a terrific football player. I just don't get the sense that they see him as a big-time $33 million a year guy. Now, we are in early August, Mike. These things almost always work out, as you know. Like 97 out of 100, something happens where even if the guy doesn't get the deal that he's looking for, they do a bridge deal. They do something to get this over with so they can move on. But now we have to kind of see what McLaurin does here. I talked to someone close to him this week who felt that they were ways apart, and everything I've heard would suggest that's still the case. I don't see them doing $33 million beating the Metcalf deal. I just don't see that, Mike. Based on, again, they didn't draft him, this front office. I know people don't like to hear that, but that's real. And Metcalf's making actually $33 million, $32.99 million. So right now, they're not close to that.
Well, those are two big stories to keep an eye on. Obviously, inside the NFC East, you got Micah Parsons and Terry McLaurin both requesting trades, and that could, if those two guys get traded, it would be a huge shift in the NFC. With the Eagles, obviously, it's still the favorites. You would have two teams that would have huge losses. Now, one guy, Micah Parsons, he is a pretty good edge rusher. You've been around this Eagles team. You've seen a couple of practices now. We're about a week in. Defense. Does the Eagles' defense, I mean, people wondering, they got all these new faces over there. How's it coming together? Does it look like it's coming together, or is there something missing?
Yeah, I think here's the thing, Mike. We've used this phrase for 8 years. Depth is not about how many players you have. It's about the quality of the players. And let me start at edge. So Nolan Smith, has come back from a serious injury. He's healthy and fine. He's practicing, but will Nolan Smith be the same? He really came on. He had over 10 sacks if you include the playoffs. Had a great playoff run, by the way. We know that he's going to be one of their edge rushers. That's not in question. The other thing is, and Jalen Hunt will start, he's not a high-end edge rusher yet. He's just not. He's very talented. He's got great length and athleticism. He's put on the size that they want him to, but he's unproven as a pass rusher. Cesar Ojulari got off to a quick start. He's kind of faded. Josh Uche is taking more snaps over him. He's been really steady. They really like him. Okonkwo's there that Cleveland cut. Powell Ryland, is a rookie, probably won't dress on game day. And then Jahad Campbell in developmental periods has been worked with on the edge. But his reps in practice are really inside backer. So, Mike, I think what the Eagles will do is they'll assess this position through camp, through the preseason, then make a decision whether they'll sign a guy like Darius Smith, Preston Smith, Matthew Judon, Shaq Barrett, even Clowney, though. Clowney's tough. I don't see it why he wants to be a starter. They don't need anyone to start. They just need a third edge rusher, Mike. Like Ojulari's got to be the third edge rusher he's been with the Giants. That's the guy who needs to show up, to be quite frank. That's what's got to happen here.
Well, definitely keep an eye on that. And obviously, by the way, there would be a 0.0% chance the Cowboys would ever trade with the Eagles' Michael Parsons. So anybody out there who's thinking about that, you can cross that off your list. How's the cornerback situation going right now?
And this is another problem, Mike. It's really dead even between Keely Ringo and Dory Jackson. Ringo's taken more first-team snaps in the last 3 days, but Jackson took them the majority of them the first 3 days. So it's some people might say Ringo's got a little bit of an advantage just because he's the guy that wanted to win it, no doubt about that. But we're going to have to get through training camp. But I would tell you, though, Mike, if they're not happy, and we'll get to the free agents, they'll also look to potentially for a trade. Why? Because they're not just going to accept that they can't get back to the Super Bowl. That's not the way the Eagles think. And they're really young on that side of the football, but they're just not getting enough play at the cornerback position. They got to get better play. Now, who are the free agents out there? Asante Samuel Jr. would be a starter. He's coming back from a neck issue. He needs to get cleared. You could get cleared independently, but you got to get cleared by clubs. So he's got to visit clubs and take a physical to see where he's at. Stephon Gilmore is out there, mid-30s. He's actually older than Darius Slay. Mike, he's not a great fit for the Eagles scheme because he's more of a man corner. The Eagles play a heavy zone. Now, Kendall Fuller, Mike, is a good name. He played for Vic Fangio 2 years ago. That would be a name to watch. And Rasul Douglas, he's a zone corner. Time has kind of taken off. He's around 30, but you know what? He's got length, and he would fit from a zone standpoint. But Kendall Fuller would be the guy there at corner if they look towards free agency. I
feel like Rasul Douglas just bounces all over the place every single year and then always seems to make like a big play somewhere, wherever he ends up.
His best ball was with Green Bay. That's where he played really, really well. With the Eagles, Mike, they actually reduced his RFA tender 1 year. I remember doing some reporting on it. I've just not seen that before. He was immature here. He had to grow up. He had to kind of leave and get things right, and he became a quality player. I mean, you'd rather have him at this point as your third corner, but you could start if you need him to.
All right. What about the safety spot? We know there's a big battle going on there. Is this a in-house fix, or do they need to start going through the Rolodex?
All right. So Blankenship starting. Makuba worked today, non-contact. That's good. He's back from the shoulder. And with Sidney Brown, they got to get through this thing. And they've got Tristan McCollum. So as long as nobody suffers an injury, Mike, where they're not going to be ready for the start of the season, they don't really need to do anything. They also like Andre Sam, number 31, who was an undrafted free agent last year. Now, it is a buyer's market, Mike. Of course, Justin Simmons will be the number one guy. Why? Because he knows the Fangio scheme. Marcus Williams, who the Eagles had significant interest, made a huge offer to many years ago, Mike, you might remember many years ago. He wound up signing with Baltimore. He was cut by the Ravens. He didn't play. He got benched last season. So he's not a guy you really want to go after, but he's out there. Jordan Poyer, former Eagle, by the way, near the end of his career.
Oregon State, man, Oregon State.
Yeah, and he was that's one I'm sure the Eagles would like to have back. They didn't give him he was a 7th-round pick. They didn't give him a good enough try. Quandre Diggs, who has played for a number of teams, Washington, you might remember him, and then Seattle and Tennessee. He still wants to play. He's out there. Von Bell was a long-time starter in the NFL on the back nine of his career. Jalen Mills, by the way, started for the Jets last season. Marcus May, who's had a number of injuries, former starter for the Saints, and Sean Gibson's near the end of his career. So it's a buyer's market. The Eagles don't need to do anything now, but they have to make sure that they're happy with Makuba or Sidney Brown, and then they'll be fine. If not, that's the list of free agents.
Does this feel like that Simmons has just been kind of sitting and waiting around in the event that the Eagles got a chance to evaluate, they call him? Does it feel like that, or because does he have no interest from any other team?
No, it's simple. Not a lot of safeties have signed the first 2 weeks of training camp. Very few signed, and it's over-glutted. And he's a system fit. No, the Eagles are. I don't feel like Simmons is waiting. I don't get that sense. I'm sure his agent Todd Francis has talked to the Eagles about it, but the Eagles really want Makuba or Brown to step up here and seize the job. Sidney Brown's got a ton of reps, by the way, with the ones. Part of it's because Makuba is a rookie and then got hurt, and Sidney now knows the scheme. And last summer he didn't practice, so now he's ready to roll. He's healthy. They played him at safety. He's played a little nickel in training camp. So let's see what happens. I don't know that he's a great fit for the scheme because they really need a coverage safety, but he is getting better.
All right, there's football at 4 today from Adam Caplan. By the way, it's alumni weekend. Is there a certain Philly alumni that you would be excited to bump into at Citizens Bank Park if you were going to a game? You should see this list. There's like 60 names on this list, by the way.
Is one of my favorite Phillies. So Taguchi on the list.
He is not on the list. No, So Taguchi. Oh, that's a good pull. That's a good pull by you, though.
Dude, Moshe and I have we love the obscure. Like Rod Booker's one of my favorites.
Rod Booker, there's a good one.
Who couldn't hit his weight. See, I'm old enough to remember. You and I talked about Larry McWilliams, a couple months ago. I couldn't believe you got that one because he had remember the funny delivery?
Yeah, of course.
But I'll say this much. I forgot how great J-Roll was. J-Roll, and then I totally forgot he had the most hits in Phillies history, right over Mike Schmidt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got that late in his career. He ended up passing him.
I forgot how great of a leadoff hitter he was. And the 1 year, what did he have, like 25 triples or something? 1 year was crazy. Boy,
Rollins, the year he won the MVP.
Yeah. He was unbelievable. Yeah, he's not, to me, he's obviously going to the Phillies Hall of Fame, but he's not in, I don't think he'll be in MLB, be in a Pro Baseball Hall of Fame, but what a great Philly, great dude, and I honestly, no, my Schmitty was right up there for me. See, I'm old enough to remember Gary Maddox and certain Phillies. You're growing up. That's a tough one, but my favorite Phillies moment, well, 2 of them. 1980, Tug McGraw, obviously closing out the game against the Royals, but the Brad Lidge, was it, if you add the playoffs, was it 47 for 47? Something
48
like that?
for 48.
48 for 48. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, Tug, by the way, was incredible in 1980. Incredible. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know he was dominant, but what Brad Lidge did, I don't think it could be done again. I can't see anyone going perfect. That's crazy.
It's Alumni Weekend. By the way, there's a list of over 50 legends, quote-unquote legends, I guess, if you will, that will be there. And the whole list, we'll read it off here in just a minute. But, we had a lot of fun with this. Steve Jeltz, by the way, will be on.
Steve Jeltz, that's another one who, remember he pitch hit? Became a switch hitter. He couldn't hit from either side.
Either side, right. Greg Legg was always one of my favorites.
L-E-G-G, yes.
L-E-G-G, yes. There you go. All right, so those are
there's a dude that I don't know why. See, I used to be so obsessed with the Phillies. I used to go to the Reading Phillies games. Do you remember the guy who was supposed to be the next Darren Dalton? Was it Troy Rusk? Was that the guy's name? I don't know why I remember that, but I always remember these obscure Phillies. Don't ask me why.
Well, Adam, one of these days we'll just, in the summertime, football at 4, sometimes people, slows down a bit. We're picking back up. Maybe one of those days we'll do an obscure Eagles segment or something. All right, man?
We had me, Ruben, Frank, Jeff. We had one the other day, man. Oh yeah,
man, that's a good one.
Yeah,
all right, well, obviously, this time next week, we'll be looking back at the Eagles' first preseason game.
That's right. They
which
play
is
Thursday against the Bengals, huh?
That is correct. Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Adam, thanks, pal.
Thanks.
All right, Adam Caplan, everybody. Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.